All right, we are going to start working on the bones for the alien. Now you'll notice that I gave him a little bit of transparency, that way we can actually see through him well. And I'm going to teach you how to use the layers to help streamline your work as well here. So I'm going to create a layer. I'm just going to call this the mesh. I'm going to take everything that we worked with as far as the mesh is concerned and just drop it straight into there. So this is in the, if you actually go into the layer menu here, that's how you can open that up. You can see it opened up down here, the same thing. I'm going to create another layer, a new one, and this one I'm going to call bones. So now whatever layer you have selected is the layer that it's actually going to create stuff in. This is going to be important because it's going to make it so that you have really quick and easy access to everything. So for example, I can actually freeze the mesh right now just in one click by clicking on that layer to freeze it. And I'm okay with it being in gray. And the reason I want to freeze it is because when I create the bones, I don't want to accidentally click on the mesh. Okay, so make sure that I'm working in the bones layer. I'm going to go to the left viewport. It's important that we actually work in the left and not orthographic. I'm going to go up to animation, turn on the bone tools, and we are going to create some bones. Now, when you look at the bone tools, and if I come in here to say create bones, you're going to notice that it's going to give me the properties of these bones right over here. I'm going to go ahead and I don't really need to have two scene explorers open. Just drag it over there. You're going to have the sizes of the bones, and you're also going to have these other things called side fins, front fins, back fins. I'm going to turn these all on just because when I create these bones, I want to make sure that it has it, and this is just going to save time so that later on I don't have to actually activate those. And I chose, because of the size of my alien, I chose 1 inch for the width of the bones. If you want to try to customize it, you actually can come in here, and if you have create bones selected, you can see what the size of the bone will look like. See, if I turn off the fins, actually if I was going to turn off the fins for that bone, I'd have to come in here. That was the bone end. So that's the size of the bone, and that's a pretty good size. You can actually come up here and adjust it to see how big you want to make it, but I found that 1 inch was ideal for my situation. Okay, so once you got the right size going, then you can go ahead. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to go over here to create bones. I'm going to turn those fins back on. I'm going to start up here in the hip. I'm going to go forward just a little bit. Stop at the knee. Come down here to the ankle. I'm going to use this to create the arch. There's for the ball of the foot. I'm going to go to the end of the toe. And then I'm going to right click to create my bone end. Now that bone end doesn't need to have any fins on it, so I'm just going to turn that off. Actually, forgot. I have to go into here to turn that off. Oops. You can always just create an end if you accidentally missed that. Okay, so turning that off. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of alter the size of those fins. I'll show you with one, and then I will pause it and let you go ahead and kind of alter and arrange the rest of them. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to look at the the side fin. We've got our front fin right here. Can I bring it back? And it's okay if the fins actually extend a little bit beyond the skin, because they are not going to actually render when you render this whole thing. And give it a little bit of a taper there. Bring this in. You don't want it to extend too far out because these fins are going to also, they'll create what's called envelopes that grab sections of the mesh, and basically so that the mesh moves along with the bones. Okay, so then I'm going to go to the front viewport. I'm going to center that in that bone, and then double click on it. That way it selects the entire chain. These bones are automatically linked. So if I, for example, if I select this, it's going to select everything down the hierarchy chain, but it's not going to select the top ones. So I'm going to select this top bone. That way I can select everything. I'm going to rotate it. Now notice that I centered it on the foot where the pivot point is. That way it actually stays on the foot and I don't have to do a bunch of adjustments later. Then I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to rotate that one so that it is pointing down so that it matches with the foot. Now it's really important that I don't rotate these two at all because of something that I'm going to do in just a little bit. I'm going to show you how that's going to work. It's called an IK chain. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here to this fin. We're going to adjust the size of that. And yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to pause it, adjust the rest of the fins, and then I will resume before the next section. Okay, so my fins have been adjusted. And if I rotate around, you can see that they generally cover the areas that I want it to kind of have influence over. And they extend a little bit beyond the mesh, which is fine. Now we need to work on, we're going to do some naming conventions here. So the bones should actually have proper names because otherwise you're going to have bone 001 all the way through every single bone that you have in throughout this alien, and it's going to be really hard to identify what is what. And so actually we're going to follow a common naming convention here by going BN underscore, this is going to be on the left, underscore, I'm just going to call this thigh 001. I'm going to copy that because I'm going to use the same naming convention for the rest of it. Instead of thigh, I'm going to call this one shin. This one, let's call it heel. This one we will call ball, the ball of the foot. And this one we will call toe. Okay, and this last one is going to be in bone end, so we're just going to call this BE underscore left underscore leg. Just 001. Okay, so all of my bones have been named over here for this side of the foot. Now the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to give it a gradation, because we want this to actually have a certain color, so that way it's easy to identify when we're working with all of the bones. So I'm going to start with selecting this top bone, double click on it so it gets the entire hierarchy here. And for my start color, I'm just going to go to a very deep blue. And for my end color, I think I'm just going to keep it gray. Now I'm going to apply gradient. And you can see it has a gradient to those bones. Now for the right leg, I'm actually going to just use the mirror modifier. So I double click so that I have everything selected. We're going to select mirror. I'm going to offset it Make sure I'm in the front viewport here actually, because here I'm going to cancel. Make sure I'm in the front viewport, that way make sure that I do this correctly. And now for this one, if I go into the bone tools again, instead of blue, we're going to make this one a deep green. And I'm going to apply the gradient. Now the only thing left is that I have to come in here and we're actually going to change the names. Now it's kind of convenient because they actually name it 002 for the ones that are going to be the right leg, so I can actually do it straight here from the hierarchy. I don't have to select each one separately. So I'm going to change that to R and that to 1. And I'm going to do that with the rest of them that say 002. So I'll pause here and take care of that. Okay, so I fixed the names, so they all should be correct now, including the spelling of heel, which I just realized I spelled it with an A and I should have spelled it with an E. So that's how you create the leg bones. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to set up an IK solver or HI solver to create an IK chain, and then we're going to also put some control points on these legs.